So things are heating up more than anyone could have possibly expected, and it's getting bloody out there, ladies and gentlemen. Not only do we have an attempt on the presidential candidates and Donald Trump surviving that one, we also have a lot of news associated with that, one being Donald Trump meme coin spikes 52% following assassination attempt. Boy, oh boy, if anyone was holding this, you are making out like a bandit. However, the politicians aren't the only one that are getting bloodied up right now. And I would argue the bears are doing a fantastic job of getting bloodied into this week. And we're going to be talking about their positioning. We're going to be talking about the expected move this week in the S&P, the impacts that the recent news events could be having out there, and also talking about Netflix, UNH earnings, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, all of that and more. We've been talking about the banks briefly in this video, but more importantly, I'm going to be giving you the levels you guys have to pay attention to for the rotation of the week to know if you need to be bullish side of the market, bearish side of the market, or just sitting on your hands based on the news catalysts that we have out there, one of which is Jerome Powell speaking on Monday. So we'll get into what we think of that later on in the video. We'll also be going over the biggest winners and losers to know which ones were the big sectors of the week and how we can prepare for next week. So without further ado, let's dive in to what happened today. So starting off with the S&P, right? So we talked about how the net speculative positions increased from 12 to 55,000 net short positions. And as we can see here, the S&P had a nice bullish week. We did have that slam down on Thursday after that CPI report came out, which made no sense. Jumping back to the news real quick, guys, just to give you into perspective, the CPI report came out killer for the bulls. And you had CPI year over year coming down. And I will admit, I was wrong with the assumptions that Tom Lee had. I thought that this report was not going to be as rosy as it was. I thought it would be the next one. Maybe Tom Lee, I give him props for that, was right all along, how he was right about the craziness of the market, and I doubted him for quite some time. I'm willing to admit that. And now the question is, are we going to get continuation of these reports? Which the thing that blew my mind is if you look at PPI coming out on Friday, it came in massively beating to the bearish side, right? More inflation than we thought, revisions to the previous ones higher. So is that a resurgence of inflation? Is that going to quell the expectations of rate cuts in September? Right now, they're pricing in a 93% chance of expectations for rate cuts in September. And also jumping back to the political news just before we get into the levels of the market, did anyone ever, that scene Breaking Bad, when they heard about the news, did this scene ever come to your mind? Well, if it did for you guys, it sure did for me. So hope you got a good kick out of that one. But let's dive into the S&P real quick and just see what's going on, right? So we rotated above 557 after that news came out, and NVIDIA got a nice price bump. However, if we jump over to NVIDIA, it really didn't catch much of a buying opportunity. Still stopped around that 9-day moving average. So if you're NVIDIA fans, and I know some of you love to short this thing or keep asking me about, do we need to short it? You're not below the 9. It's not time yet. There will come a day for NVIDIA. There will, but not yet. Right now, we're going to be looking bullish side of the market. And let's just clean up these levels for you guys so we can start talking about what we have to pay attention this week. So looking at the levels for this week, again, that 554 number is going to be very, very important. That was the low that we previously had. And again, 557 is really going to be a rotationary point that's going to stay active for this week. Being below 557.18 will signify lower prices ahead for us, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. However, if we rotate up to 563, then we're going to basically be looking at more bullish prices ahead, breaking new all-time highs. And we do have the catalyst this week. We got Netflix on deck for earnings. So let's just jump over to Netflix just to see what their expectations are for it. As we can see on earnings, 25-3, expecting bullish earnings out of Netflix. Cautionary thing, I will be releasing a option play for this along with UNH, along with Bank of America, depending on how that all plays out. That will be on basically Tuesday, that video, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. I'm going to be looking at Goldman Sachs to know if I'm going to be playing bank, but I'm definitely going to play UNH. I'm definitely going to be playing Netflix upside, UNH downside. I'll release that video of what I'm planning to do for them, and that way you can join in if you so choose. So the JP Morgan and Wells Fargo one didn't work out so well for me. However, you win some, you lose some. And so you guys don't miss out on those, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button down below and have bell notifications on. And while you're down there, check out the like button and also our Discord link down in the description below. So make sure you guys take a look at that. And without further ado, let's get back into it. So jumping back to the levels, right? Netflix expected to beat, so that should push the S&P and the NASDAQ both upwards. Ideally, what I would like to see is the week consolidating around to maybe the 555, 57 number and finding support around that 9-day moving average once it gets back up here, right? Right now it's sitting at 554, 1 or 2 days, right? Going into Netflix earnings, if we're just consolidating around this area, I would be looking for a bullish break to the upside because that's basically the coil forming, a nice massive coil forming in this area, getting ready to explode. We do have the bear fuel present where all the bears are trying to short it and they're going to get basically bloodied again like they historically have gone. Maybe they don't this time, but history teaches us that they have been bloodied several times over. And the question is, why is this time going to be any different? Because we've all heard the phrase, this time's different, until it's not. However, the NASDAQ does paint a different picture, right? So if we jump over to the NASDAQ to look at the weekly levels that we put out last week, we are holding that 9, similar to how we just mentioned about NVIDIA. However, there is concern. This is a failed weekly breakout, and we are below the previous week's high. So, okay, this means that there is momentum stopping us from going up. We don't necessarily have that true momentum going down. We haven't broken any key level, but we're going to have to pay attention to a lot of levels this week, and we can simply clean up the chart real quick and get you guys those levels. So cleaning up the chart here, we can clearly see 496.57 is going to be the rotationary point. 490.73 is going to be the pivotal low that we should not be breaking. Really, 492 is going to be an early warning sign that we can put out there as a early warning sign that if we break this, we're going to basically be looking at a 490 break. So keeping an eye on 492.04, and subsequently, if we get that rotation back above 497 roughly, then we're looking at more bullishness ahead. Again, I keep saying, ideally we would consolidate in this area and form that coil in the S&P and the NASDAQ, let the market calm down a little bit, maybe get some bounce off of the bank earnings that are happening Monday and Tuesday, and subsequently go higher. Maybe we see UNH come in bearish. We start rotating out of the Dow, out of the IWM, back into the S&P, back into the NASDAQ, and then we see that bullishness really ignite on Netflix earnings, or we see a continuation of a bearish trend if we're already establishing one into Netflix. I will keep you guys updated in the coming videos for that. But again, if we're break above 496.57 after Netflix earnings, obviously the pattern is to the upside. Stop fighting the pattern and let that bullish run continue. If we're breaking below 490.73 off of Netflix, then I would be expecting 486.86 to break next. If that level breaks, then we're going to be looking at further downside potential. However, until we get the 490 break, we're not going to get the 486.86 break. So why are we going to be talking about it until it doesn't happen, right? We're going to keep a lot of things on the table for that. But mostly we need to look at the IWM. The IWM has not done something in so long, right? The Russell had a massive week. This is basically from bottom to tip. You're looking at a 7% rally in the Russell. And this actually brings it, if we zoom it out, actually going into the weekly graph for you guys, this is now starting to get into this region where we were back in 2022, right? This region right here is where the Russell actually formed its all-time highs that it still has not broken. Small caps have basically been in the toilet, and the second rate cut expectations came into fruition. We saw a lot of money flowing into the Russell. So is this going to continue? Is the Russell going to keep pushing higher? My opinion is going to be, as long as we stay above 210, then yes, most likely the Russell is going to continue this bullish trend. Slower it may be than it previously happened on this massive run right here. Ideally, we would love to see that 210 retest, fill one of the gaps, right? Not necessarily looking for this gap fill right here. If we do get it, yeah, that's a great shorting opportunity. However, I would love to see the retracement of this gap, fill that price action in, and then continue higher above 210, right? Bounce off 210, rotate above it, and then continue higher on the Russell, sending a beautiful A to B pattern. Hypothetically, that would be, right, if we looked here, A to B, B to C, let's say, projecting up to 223 on the Russell once we trade above the swing point here. So again, keeping that in mind, we have to look at various different things. Now, the reason I'm saying stay on the bullish camp side is because RSP had a similar thing to the S&P. Even though the S&P didn't really have a stellar week, RSP was up massively on the week, equal weighting up 3.48%. Traditionally, what you would see from a massive CPI beat week. To me, this was pure rotation, and we'll see it in the biggest winners and losers phase of the video, where we're most likely going to see some sectors massively red, some sectors massively green. So we're going to keep an eye on that. The bigger cap stocks obviously took a beating this week. However, going into their earnings, I would be looking at this as a massive buying opportunity on top of VIX being absolutely slaughtered in this area right here. So we're going to keep an eye on it, right? It's getting into a tight coil. So there is a possibility that we get a VIX pop if earnings doesn't go the way we are. However, until that happens, I cannot confirm or deny that VIX is going to do anything, right? It can just go sideways. For quite some time, the 2020-2019 market taught us that VIX basically staying at an extremely depressed level for an extremely long time, and everyone was like throwing money at this thing thinking it's going to pounce like no tomorrow. It eventually did, right? COVID came around. It eventually did, the same way that the inverted yield curve is going to basically hammer us one a day, right? But again, it hasn't uninverted yet. We haven't had the VIX spike, so let's stop talking about that it has to happen this week instead of prepare, hedge against risk, and then manage risk accordingly. And that is why I talk about Bitcoin being in this position that it is. I do believe Bitcoin has more to go. I want to see that 200-day retest of 51,000. That would give me confidence that Bitcoin has found a bottom. That'd be your three-leg approach, right? 1, 2, and then 3 lower. So make sure you guys keep an eye on that for Bitcoin to break 56. If it does break 56, don't try catching a falling knife. Wait for that 51 level. And now we're going to go into the biggest winners and losers, and then we'll be back for the discussion part of the video.
What an absolute insane week when it came to the markets. Absolutely crazy. The S&P 500 ended up 0.55%, and with Jerome Powell testifying to the Senate Financial Committee and CPI coming in much lower than expected, markets overall in the 5-day gained 0.7%. You can see that as of Friday, though, it did fall down a little bit, but what a massive rise going into the 12th, as you guys can see right there, and even going from the 9th all the way to the 11th of July, massive jump. And again, on Friday, the market gained 0.55%. And I also forgot one more thing, and that's in regards to the earnings, because we did have bank earnings, and gotta say, it's kind of surreal because the banks right now aren't doing too hot, yet the market is going up. Very concerning, seeing that banks are the ones that run the economy, basically, not necessarily tech companies. When taking a look at the next upcoming earnings for the week of July 15th, we got on Monday, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, that's interesting, and First Bank. Tuesday, we got Bank of America, United Health Group, which you know me, guys, I love that one. Morgan Stanley, Progressive, Charles Schwab, PNC, State Street, Interactive Brokers, and a few other ones you guys can see right here. We're beginning the earnings season, right, as you guys can see. On Wednesday, we got ASML, United, Johnson & Johnson, which is one I really do want to cover, Discover, Prologis, Synchrony, Crown Castle International, and Ally. On Thursday, we got we got not necessarily tech, however, it is the communication sector, and that's Netflix. We'll see what happens with that one. The revisions are definitely to the upside on this one, but it was the same thing for Wells Fargo, and that didn't go too hot. TSMC, Nokia, PPG, and Domino's Pizza, DR Horton, Abbott, Blackstone, and a bunch of other ones. And then on Friday, we got American Express and a bunch of other ones as well. Looking at the heat map, we could see something really interesting occurring. And yeah, basically the companies that were really in the green the prior week is starting now to rotate. And this is something that I've noticed, that fact that this week was just a lot of rotation, right? There was a lot of rotation, especially I believe on Wednesday, we had a massive rotation to specifically the Russell. And you guys can see it right here where a bunch of other companies are now in the positive, right? Are in the green. Like the real estate sector is massively in the green, as well as the industrials as well. And the heat map did get changed on me, as you guys can see. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Let's start off with the technology sector. Worst performer here, it is the company NOW ServiceNow, losing 5.95%. And the best performer overall seems to be none other than the company, right? I think it's that one, guys. I think it's that one, Enphase, gaining 22.85%. Also, take a look at this. GLW Corning, gaining 18.68%. So a massive amount there. But again, best performer Enphase, 22.85%. Moving now into the communique. Wow, okay, this really got messed up over here. This is crazy. Okay, let's zoom in on here. We got the communications sector, guys. Worst performer, it is Meta, losing 7.6%, but also Netflix losing 6.23%. Best performer seems to be the company EA, gaining 5.37%. Looking now into the consumer defensives. Again, this whole thing just got riled up. This is actually very different than last week. We got worst performer Costco, wow, losing 4.83%. And the best performer, it is none other than the company Target, gaining 5%, essentially 4.94%. Guys, Target, you guys could see Target for a while there has been going down, but they recovered, and they recovered nicely. So might still be willing to buy this company. I don't know. We'll see in the future. Tell me if you guys are willing to buy this company as it currently stands, even though they do have a lot of controversies, but they have been scaling it back. And as you guys can see, the banks did very good. Well, specifically the financial sector, but the banks, honestly, this week, all in the green. Kind of surprising because, well, coming off of Friday, this is kind of ridiculous, right? Like you would expected this to be a whole lot worse. We got the worst performer, Wells Fargo, losing 5.17%. We covered this on the stream. Basically, their net interest income collapsed. They really didn't change their guidance from the prior. They didn't make it better. Therefore, that's bad. Therefore, they lose. I mean, at one point, they were down like 7%. And the best performer, man, look at this. The regional banks right now are absolutely bonkers right now. It's absolutely crazy, guys. Absolute insanity. But the best performer seems to be in the regional banks, and it seems to be the company, if I can find it here, Key. Yep, Keep Corp, gaining 9.03. But, I mean, you have companies here getting 7.7, 7.84, 8.4. Let's move on. This is now the consumer cyclicals. Yeah, they really did mess this whole entire thing up. We got over here the worst performer, Chipotle. Really? Wow, look at that line of Chipotle. Oh, they just had the stock split. I didn't realize that they stock split it already. I knew that was coming. I didn't realize it was right now. Okay, so Chipotle lost 8.1%. Wow, that was the worst performer, you would think. I wonder, did this just happen, or was this here for a while now? Like, has it been like several weeks? I don't really know. I wasn't really catching up on Chipotle right here. And the best performer, it is none other than, I mean, I pretty much just hovered over it. Just trying to see if there is any other one. Yeah, actually there is. Mohawk Industries gaining 14.83%. That seems to be the best one, guys. But I mean, you got companies like Ford, 9.27. You got this one right here, D.R. Horton. Ironically enough, D.R. Horton, 13. Let me move that for you. 13.41%. So, you know, you got PHM gaining 11.9. This is crazy. The residential constructions are all up double digits, if not close to double digits. What is going on there? All right, we're going to see D.R. Horton's earnings coming up really soon. So that's going to be really interesting right there as it stands. We look at this. We also got this one. Norwegian Cruise Lines, 11.73. Absolute insanity, guys. All right, looking now into the healthcare sector. This is the greenest sector that we've seen so far. Everything here is massively in the green. In fact, only a few companies lost. And the worst performer seems to be the company McKesson Corporation, losing 1.89%, but also Cardinal Health 1.87, fairly close. And the best performer, it is none other than, it's probably going to take me a little bit of time to find, but it seems to be this company right here, guys. Incite Corporation gaining 11.04%. If you take a look at UNH, up 4.82%, back above $510. So hopefully you guys keep buying. If it keeps falling down to like 480, I honestly, I would just keep buying at that point, honestly. And if it keeps falling more, then I would just keep buying at that point. Not financial advice. I'm just saying what I would do. Looking now into, oh wow, this is all messed up. Looking now into the industrials, we got a lot of green here as well. The worst performer being none other than Delta Airlines, losing 5.21%, and the best performer, it is the company. Wow, I just saw 11% right there. Okay, it seems to be this one. It is 100%. Yes, it seems to be the company Builders First Source, gaining 15.18%. Looking now into the real estate sector, a lot of green here, and I gotta point out before we move on, guys, realty income is now above $55. So it's almost above 56, gaining 5.01%. Not the best performer though, but still, just wanted to point it out. We got the worst performer being Welltower Inc., losing 2.14%, and the best performer seems to be the company. Let's find this. Wow. SBAC gaining 11.53%. Also Vici, guys. Vici gained a decent amount as well, 6.13. This company, you guys can see it was falling and then it just spiked. $29.45, 6.13%. Looking now into the utilities, a lot. Wow, all of these companies are green but one. There's only one that lost, and that was CenterPoint Energy, losing close to 2/3%, basically. I mean, 0.62%. Wow. Everything else is. I love the utility sector, man. I love that. I had a coworker ask me like, "Oh, I want to get into like electricity companies." I'm like, "You missed the boat on that one, like by several months, my guy." Oh man, remember when this thing was crashing because of NEE? Yeah. There you guys have it. There you guys have it. So the best performer seems to be none other than the company. It seems to be this one right here, PNW, gaining 5.8%. And now moving into the energy sector. Worst performer here is the company Valero, losing 3.18%. And the best performer, it is the company APA, gaining 4.79%. And lastly, the basic materials. We got only two companies losing. You guys can see over here. Worst performer was Albemarle, losing 0.5%, as well as FCX, Freeport McMoran, losing again 0.5%. And the best performer, it is none other than the company Sherwin-Williams, gaining 7.67%. All in all, guys, it's going to be a rather low week when it comes to news. We're going to talk about this when we go into the debate. But basically, rather low week. Jerome Powell speaking Monday. Aside from that, there really isn't much of anything happening. Earnings is going to be the big thing. As I just showed you guys, there's a lot of earnings. So it'll be really, really interesting to see. But anyways, that pretty much does it for this segment. With that said, take it away, Mike.
So before we dive into the fun news calendar for the week, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. And that is someone tried to kill Orange Man.
I'm fairly surprised it took this long. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, you would have thought it would have happened during his first term, at least, right?
Yeah.
At least someone would try to take a pot shot at him.
Yeah, and guys, this is clearly a financial channel, but at the end of the day, you can't separate politics and economics. You really, really can't. Now, what would have been interesting is if the futures were opened when this occurred.
Oh, it would have slammed. It would have slammed because the futures don't like uncertainty. They are absolutely terrified of upheaval and all that. Like they see this and they're like, I'm going to sell and then come back once my brain has processed.
Right. So it would have been like, I mean, we saw when Russia invaded Ukraine, futures just crashed overnight, right? And then when Iran attacked Israel, once again, futures crashed and then oil spiked. So it would have been really interesting to see if this would have occurred when futures were open. Obviously, it didn't, but hopefully, by the looks of it, the man is fine. I think he just got grazed by like shrapnel on his right ear.
Yeah.
That's really it. So, if anything, he just lost hearing, which honestly, at his age, he probably already lost hearing. But nothing imperable to the current.
Yeah, and probably being a good capitalist, he's going to find a way to profit off of this, like the mugshot shirts. They
need to capitalize hard. Oh yeah, they need to capitalize hard. Yeah,
but you're going to have your opportunity for the elephant in the room to talk on Monday, which good old Jerome Powell is talking on Monday, right in the middle of market midday. So, you're just
Wow.
going to, if the last week and the weekend hasn't been enough volatility for you guys, Powell's like, I'm just going to start off your week with a bang.
And that's the thing too. Like this week, there really isn't much of anything happening.
You got a
When it comes
little
to
bit
like,
on Monday. You got Empire State Manufacturing. That can move the market one way or another. It's been these manufacturing index numbers have been running up and down the market a bit recently. They jobs used to, and then this is kind of like the new jobs.
sure. But what I meant is, in regards to just aside from Monday, there really isn't much of anything. So aside, of course, earnings is the only other thing. But when it comes to basic news like this, there really isn't anything at all except for Jerome Powell talking.
Yeah, you have Goldman
We'll see how
Sachs
that
earnings
happens.
though. You have Goldman
What was
Sachs
that?
earnings Monday morning.
I'm just saying, aside from earnings, there's no other news happening.
Yep.
So it'll be really interesting to see what he talks about and why is he talking. Is he going to come out being like, "Yo, we're not going to cut rates at all this year"? Could you imagine if he says that? Could you
No,
imagine?
as much as that wet fever dream exists in my mind, he's not going to say it. He's going to be Mr. I'm going to stay data dependent. We'll take it meeting by meeting. I'm like, can you just like tape record yourself and then just play it forward and backwards every single meeting and every time you're asked a question? Because it's just the same jargon every time.
It is literally good word, by the way. Awesome word there. Yeah, it is literally just the same thing over and over again every single time. So I don't really see the point as to why he has to come out more to
Like,
speak.
can we just skip like his prepared remarks and just go right to the questions during the FOMC press conference? Like, and can we just skip to the Bloomberg guy first? Like, let's get that grilling out of the way first.
Yeah. And to be fair, the FOMC is coming up fairly soon, in just
End of July, right?
End of July, July 31st. So that's going to be really interesting.
got,
Do we want to see? I was going to jump to the next thing. Do we want? Again, there really isn't much of anything
You
happening.
got core retail sales. You got I'm going to be curious about this one, right? Atlanta Fed GDP. That one has been shrinking significantly recently. So I'm curious to see if you see further contraction in it. We do have some home data as well on Wednesday. Again, that won't move the market much, but it's going to be interesting when we talk about home affordability and all this. Is another data point we're going to get there. And then again, Atlanta Fed GDP as well on Wednesday. So I love how they're coming out 2 days with that. It's just fantastic. Again, Thursday, niche jobs, standard Thursday. You got Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index. That can move the market. Remember, I did just say these indexes are turning into job numbers, reactions where they're having a bit of a directional movement on the markets. And, I do love our good old friends, net speculative positions, throwing on even more positions in the market. I'm like, here, bear fuel, here we go, and here comes crazy market.
Probably, most likely. We're gonna
Every
probably
time
gotta
they
come
short this damn market, I'm just like, please stop. Just please, like, as much as I would
At
love
this
for
point of
all
the
you to be
game.
right, like truly,
Yeah.
I would love. We talk about the inverted yield curve. We talk about all these things on the channel. Please stop transferring your money to the bulls. Like, just please stop.
They're just hoping for that one day, right? For that one day, because when
They're-
it does
it's-
happen, then
but
they
they're-
won't do it, and then it's.
But what's the difference between being early and being wrong?
Oh, no, I agree. I'm just saying. I would much rather play it along the lines of like, all right, when the day does happen, I'm just gonna buy everything up at the bottom or near the bottom, right?
Yeah,
As things
it's
are
like when you see
crashing.
the volume capitulation line, and it's like, oh, well, volume's bigger than literally the past 3 weeks combined. Okay, start buying. Like that's literally the telltale sign of start buying.
So yeah, that's like the main thing that I would do. But let's move now into let's keep on with the whole Fed thing. At the end of July, has the CME tool said anything regarding has this increased? Because last time I checked it was like 80 something, and now I think it's like 93.8.
A 93 confirmed with, and it's been 93 for what I can see a week ago, a day ago, and now. So it's been 93 solidified. The one that's fluctuating, obviously, is the September, right? So,
Wow, that just jumped. It was 67. Now it's 90.
yeah, they
Now it's
basically
90.
locked in. It was 61 a month ago, 72 a week ago, 90 a day ago. So when the CPI data came out, they locked in right at 90, expecting a September rate cut, and everyone is like, again,
I pray that their dreams get crushed into a fine powder. I really, really do.
We'll see. It'd be interesting because what will be worse? They have their fever dream crushed prior or when the news comes out?
Right.
I vote for the news, right? I would love to see, because I never play anything through the FOMC. I always play the reaction. So it'd be amazing for this one specifically. You're waiting for that reaction and you just see 5.5 as the rate come out, expected 5.25. And I mean, the instant line down would be absolutely glorious.
It would be absolutely glorious.
Because CTAs would start being like, that's the mass panic button. Okay, sell everything.
So, aside from all of there really wasn't that much news, but we do have a ton of earnings.
Yeah, and one that I'm specifically looking forward to.
Well, let's jump to the entire week, though. Let's jump to the entire week first, because there are a ton of earnings.
Yeah, so we got Bank of America. So with that, let me pull up the tab that we have for earnings.
Yep. And we can see that it's a lot. It really is a lot. We got Tuesday, Bank of America, UNH, which I hate you. Shorting UNH.
I will be shorting UNH. Maybe, possibly.
I would like to take a look at the speculations, though, like the revisions for UNH.
Well,
Morgan Stanley, Schwab, and then on Wednesday we got United. Johnson & Johnson's another one I do want to take a look at as well. Johnson & Johnson, that one's been falling a lot. I think it's like at 145 right now.
Okay.
And then Thursday is the big one for you, Netflix.
Yeah, good old Netflix.
As well as TSMC.
Yep.
So yeah, like you're planning to do some. You're planning to not short, but like play against.
Yes, I will. So let's jump to Netflix. Right, they're expecting 26-2 for the earnings. So obviously, I'm going to play that bullish.
Will Netflix hit 1,000?
I don't know if Netflix. Jesus Christ. Let's also have UNH up. Netflix hitting 1,000. That would be a massive, massive number. Maybe in the future. I think it could hit 700.
Though, by the like into earnings, and then at earnings it just shoots up to like 1,000.
No, max you would go is maybe 700, 710, 720. Like you're talking 1,000. You're talking like a 45% gain in one day. Like you're
Nvidia.
Yes, but you're not Nvidia.
Right.
So again, if they did $11 billion in revenue, sure, we can start making that argument, because Nvidia pulled a similar card of like then front run and say you're going to make 16 billion the following year. So, or sorry, quarter. Then sure, you can definitely get that. I think for them, it's just going to be a continuation of good expected earnings. However, if you look at UNH, that my friend,
that's why you're shorting it.
Yeah, not doesn't look too rosy for you.
No, it does not. Actually, it looks great for me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
Mr. Buy every dip, yes. So
I will show everybody again the fundamentals when it comes to UNH. And again, this is the one that looks fake. Remember? This is the one that all the graphs look so fake because
and then they sell it off anyway.
Huh?
And then they sell it off anyway.
Which I'm okay with. That's perfectly fine by me. I mean, post market on Friday was at 512. So if they bring it back down to like 480, hell yeah, that's great. It's absolutely great for me. Why wouldn't I? Why would I be so? I like how the EPS gap though on the previous earnings on April 16th, it was missed by negative $7.84. It was a massive drop.
Oh yeah.
Came in negative $1.53. So that's fairly, that's a little bit concerning, but EPS is all manipulative anyways.
But still, if market decides to pay attention to it, it's like, it is what it is. But let's see, we got the famous Fear and Greed Index next, sitting at greed.
It's borderline greed to neutral.
Yeah,
would we be at extreme greed by the end of the week?
If Netflix does what I think it's gonna do, sure.
Okay.
Because you got the bear fuel, you got the Netflix catalyst, you got, actually I'll take this back. If Goldman Sachs beats earnings and then acts like a regular bank beating earnings, sure. You can tell the salt in my voice with that one.
Sure.
But if it decides to be retarded, I'm definitely not playing Bank of America earnings because I'm like, okay, I have no desire to deal with the financial sector at that point. However, UNH will be on the list. Netflix will be on the list. And then all the tech companies the following week. That's going to be... I'm playing all of them, regardless. I don't care. I'm playing the top 4.
You're playing the top 4. You're playing Microsoft, Apple,
And
Google.
Goog, Meta.
What's the... Meta.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep. I will play
so
all
that'll
of
be
them.
fun. Hey, man, I really do hope that you recover from that.
I'll dig myself
loss
out of the
in,
hole. If not, I'll just wait for eventually we're gonna have one of these catalyst days go my way. So
Right.
again, you can put yourself in the hole, you can dig yourself out of the hole. That's just risk management, right? Not betting more than 300 on any single company. Don't over leverage the contracts. All that fun.
Right. So yeah, man, I think that's really much it. So when it comes to next upcoming week, we're gonna live stream what, Tuesday and Thursday, like normal?
Yeah, I think that would be a good one. And then because we're gonna cover what Bank
of America,
UNH,
and then any news.
Okay.
And then Thursday we're gonna cover Netflix,
obviously, and
and
we can throw in J&J or Discover,
Yeah.
or we'll leave it up to you guys. Throw in the comment section of which one you want to see. That's either we don't cover on Tuesday, Wednesday. What do you want covered on Thursday other than Netflix?
Yeah, so that should be really, really fun right there. But anyways, guys, I think that'll pretty much do it for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Really does help her with the algorithm on YouTube as well as Rumble. Make sure to follow us on X at Fatal Investing. And if you'd like to join our Discord, the link is in the description below. So with that said, guys, peace out, and we will see you all next time.